The challenge is that by 2030, 100% of plastic packaging put on the markets will have to be recyclable, which is also a great move as, we're moving ahead on this topic. But as Esther said, it's rather challenging. It's global with 3R, which is rather new in the landscape of EPR. We all started as just recycling operations, which we are no more. We made that move to a responsibility which is more global, which is really reflected in the PPWR regulation.
And I think that the Netherlands and France are in this together. So we embrace this step forward.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Packaging Europe's podcast. My name is Elisabeth Skure. I'll be your host today. So the not-for-profit extended producer responsibility organization CITEO France has recently announced that it has joined EXPRA, the Extended Producer Responsibility Alliance, with the aim of further strengthening an already strong coordinated non-profit EPR model at the European level. And in today's podcast, we'll find out more about CITEO's reasons for joining and how this is set to boost EXPRA's work, how this decision is set to shape the European EPR landscape, challenges facing EPR organizations and how the organizations are overcoming those, and a lot more. And with me today, we have Jean Ornin, who is Managing Director of CITEO. And we also have Hester Klein-Langhorst, who is CEO of Verpackt and also the chair of the board of directors at EXPRA. And they'll be able to share their insights from their individual organizations' viewpoint. And I'm really looking forward to an interesting conversation. Welcome, Hester and Jean. It's great to have you on the podcast here today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To get us started, I was curious to get a little reminder of the roles of EXPRA and CITEO in the European EPR landscape.
Yeah, EXPRA is a non-for-profit organization. And what is most important, I think, is that the non-profit model is fundamental to the credibility and effectiveness of EPR systems we see. And EXPRA holds all those members, and not only European, but also worldwide members who are for non-for-profit and EPR system included. And what is special about a non-for-profit EPR system is that it works for the general economic interest. And so it's not driven by profit. And all producer contributions are reinvested in collection, recycling, capacity, innovation, data quality, and consumer engagement. And for example, also CITEO and also we have the fee modulation, and it's a good example because it's not a commercial strategy, it's a policy instrument. And you can reward recyclable design and verified recycled content. And you are aligning, on the one hand, financial incentives with environmental performance. And on the other hand, you have a level playing field. And a non-for-profit organization is also clear governance. So what you see in Europe, I think we did a survey in Europe that all non-for-profit PROs are better positioned to deliver long-term systems resilience rather than short-term financial returns. So that's what EXPRA represents.
Yeah, it seems a very good and sensible approach. Also wanted likewise to hear the role of CITEO in this context, John.
Well, CITEO is one of the oldest producer responsibility organization in Europe. We were born in 1992 to run EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, for household packaging and paper in France. So in a few figures, it's about today 100,000 companies who are contributing because they are selling products with packaging at the level of 1.7 billion euro each year, which we use to run programs, reduction programs, reuse programs, eco-design programs, collection, sorting, and also public awareness campaigns as far as the sorting gesture and in order to mobilize everyone on this topic. So the end result is today that 70% of household packaging in France is actually recycled. I think it's a good system. As Esther said, we're a non-profit, we're a mission-driven company. We managed to create all this, recycling activity, and we have a lot of progress to make in the future to make 100% circularity for the packaging, which is our ambition.
Obviously, as I mentioned in my introduction, CITEO has recently joined EXPRA, and Jean, I wanted to ask you, how does the current European regulatory and political context make this decision particularly strategic right now?
Well, as far as packaging is concerned, there is a regulation coming up, which is PPWR, Packaging and Packages Waste Regulation, which is a European regulation. It's not a directive, so it's going to have to be applied by every country. And coming up is also the Circular Economy Act, who is going to work on design of EPR, or what should be a good EPR. And to that respect, I believe that we need to get together. Esther represents, again, 35 PROs, and we are one of the big countries in Europe, and we need to get things harmonized. All the companies who have this responsibility, they expect us to build harmonized systems and coherent systems between the countries, and where there is a lot of different regulation between the different countries. So that's why we made that move. We've been working with EXPRA for many years, and we thought it was now really time to join the club and to get together and try to push regulation and then act together towards efficiency and total circularity of packaging in Europe.
Yeah, what you see, Elizabeth, is that EPR systems are mostly national driven. And I think that that's the same as Jean said. We need it more centralized, harmonized, and we will do it within EXPRA. But also we have a cooperation together, the Benelux, with Belgium, France, and Luxembourg, to join each other moreover.
Yes, it strikes me that harmonization is so important, and it's great to hear that you're working towards that. We're going to talk quite a lot about the sort of bigger picture and the whole of Europe, but before we do that, Jean, I wanted to zoom in a bit and specifically find out about what does this membership change for the French producers who are subject to EPR, and what tangible benefits can they expect in the short or medium term?
Well, what they should first of all expect is that we, as joining EXPRA, is the fact that we are going to be on the same line, to promote non-profit efficiency, harmonized EPR. That's one of the benefits, because most of those companies are pan-European companies, and they are facing many differences, as Esther says, like the marks on the packaging itself. There is a French thing, and then there is a German thing, and so forth. And it's not honestly, we need this harmonization. That's what they expect in the first place. They also expect us as European PROs to exchange practices, best practices, and try to get the most of each other in order to make progress. And maybe one day they also expect simplification, try to simplify things, because there are as many declarations of companies as countries. So somehow they expect something which is efficient and more and simpler in that perspective for them to exercise their responsibility. And this expectation is very strong.
I think in addition to Jean, the EPR systems are not only national systems, but also a backbone of the European packaging sustainability system or circularity system. I think we are the backbone, and we should work more together.
Hester, wanted to ask you, you mentioned at the beginning, obviously, that EXPRA works as a non-profit organization. Would you like to expand a bit more on the benefits of this?
Yeah. Well, we did some research of it, and what you see is that when there is a non-for-profit model, as CITEO has and Verpakt, but all the extra members has, then you see that we are better positioned to deliver long-term system resilience rather than the short-term. What you see is that we ensure an EPR system which is not for profit is general economic interest and not driven by profit. And what you also see that we have all a clear governance. We have audited finances and accountability built by trust and transparency. So what you see is if there's not for profit in the EPR system, then you do best for the circularity. I also said the fee modulation, that's really a good example. You only can do it when you are not for profit because you have a level playing field and you have a policy instrument to, to make it easier to become more circular and make it cheaper to become more circular than when you have just a profit-driven organization. So in the long run, I think that we see it now. We see that EPR systems which are not for profit have better results, but in the long run, you reach the circularity easier and earlier than for profit.
I wanted to zoom out a bit and ask you both, what are the main issues and challenges that are facing European extended producer responsibility organizations today? Do you see any common priorities emerging at a European level?
Yes, what I see is that there are ambitious requirements on recyclability, reuse, waste reduction, and recycled content, and within tight timelines. But we need to translate it to operational systems, and that's the point we're standing for, I think, and therefore an international cooperation is necessary. And I think that what we see is that the transition will put pressure on existing infrastructure and markets, and the recycling capacity and quality of recyclate and demand for recycled content must grow. So if we want to reach the higher requirements, we do not need only different systems, but we need another way of thinking and international thinking.
Maybe in addition to what Esther just said, one of the big challenges, again, is between the different countries is complexity. Honestly,
That's just kidding. That's just kidding.
We all know that Europe is important, especially today. We need to have more unified financial markets and rules and, to make us stronger, honestly. And so that's one of the challenges. And hopefully with PPWR and, the work we can do at EXPRA contributes the fact that, those different rules by country can be, not all the same in different countries, but really harmonized in some extent. And maybe another thing which we're challenging, especially for the packaging in Europe, is if we want to reach circularity for the packaging, especially for the plastic packaging, somehow we will need to protect recycling industry from the fierce competition coming from Asia as far as plastic is concerned. If we do not do that, there will not be recycling capacity in the next years in Europe. We will be dependent on Asian contents. And I think somehow we, as Europeans, need to fight maybe for something that would be a Buy European Act, something that would, engage people to sustain the European industry. Americans do, American Buy American Act.
Yeah.
The Chinese protect their industry. And as European, and especially facing the fact that we will have minimum content requirements to face in the next years, integrate recycled content in the packaging, we need this industry. So we need to protect our European industry from this competition, which is subsidized competition, by the states. And I think it's one of the big challenge we're facing at the moment. I know that this might be difficult because trade, and trade rules. But if we don't do it, we will have big issues in the next 5 years.
In the Netherlands, for example, we have the Delta Plan circular plastic packaging, and that's that's closing the loop in the West European countries, and we match supply and demand of recycled content, but then European demand. So you have the fee modulation, you get a lower fee if you use recycled content from Europe. And that's the first step, of course. But I think if we want to do it the good way, as Jan mentioned, then we should do this on a European level. We do it small in the Netherlands now, and we are a lot smaller than France is. But we try to set it up now, and we call it in the Delta Plan circular plastic and packaging. And I think it's the first step, yeah. So to also protect the recycling activities in Europe.
And I guess maybe that's also obviously also the advantage of being a bigger organization, that you have wider reach and it's easier to expand on such projects
yes.
and initiatives. We've talked a little bit about the PPWR already, and obviously it will become effective in 2026. And I wanted to get your take on what are the biggest immediate challenges that need to be tackled when adapting to this changing regulatory landscape.
Yes, as I've said, there are really ambitious requirements. On the one hand, we see that recycling activities are decreasing, and on the other hand, we need it moreover. So I think what we want to do together is these ambitious requirements, which are good. We have to make them into operational activities. And that, I think, is the biggest issue. You can dream together towards a circular horizon, but to do it here and now with the Asian and the American concurrents, we need to protect our own market too. I think that's the biggest issue. And I think we can play a big role in it. As I said, I think the EPR system are the backbone of this transition to circularity. And we cannot do it on our own in the Netherlands, in France. We really should cooperate together.
Yeah, maybe in addition, what is interesting and challenging with the PPWR is that maybe for the first time in Europe, the strategy for packaging is a 3R packaging strategy. 3R for reduction, reuse, and recycling, which we started in France, with the loi AGEC a few years ago, saying that our goal is not only to recycle packaging put on the market. Our goal is to reduce the impact of packaging. And then PPWR introduces targets to reduce, targets to reuse, and targets to recycle, and then minimum content requirements. And also talking about recycling, the challenge is that by 2030, 100% of plastic packaging put on the markets will have to be recyclable, which is also a great move as, we're moving ahead on this topic. But as Esther said, it's rather challenging. It's global with 3R, which is rather new in the landscape of EPR. We all started as just recycling operations, which we are no more. We made that move to a responsibility which is more global, which is really reflected in the PPWR regulation.
And I think that the Netherlands and France are in this together. So we embrace this step forward. I think that's what not all countries do, but we are together in this.
We talked about challenges. Likewise, what opportunities do you think come through the PPWR?
Yeah, I see that this ambition can make a movement to a real market activation. As I said, the Delta Plan in the Netherlands, but also it creates a unique opportunity to strengthen the European circular economy together. So you have one level playing field abroad Europe. And I think that is a real chance, and it's not easy, to align EPR systems. And as Jean already mentioned, it is really necessary to come to a circular economy in Europe to harmonize it. So there are some minimum requirements. It is a regulation, so all countries have the same level, more or less. So it really can improve efficiency, reduce system costs, and accelerate innovation.
For me, there is an additional opportunity, which is, in France, we've been talking for years and years about DRS system for plastic bottles and cans.
We have it.
We've been discussing this for ages, and our collection rate is 55%, and we need to reach 90% by 2030. So the advantage of PPWR is that, well, guys, you will have no choice. Everyone will be at the same level, and so we'll have to move, towards this this system, which is really contested in France because no one is is okay, but it's the only way to collect 90% of plastic bottles. It's the only way to reach the targets, the recycling targets for plastics, and it's the only way for aluminium to reach the targets. I'm sorry about that, but it's reality.
What we see in the Netherlands is just a thing of time. So we get too used to it, and it's not in 1 year.
What?
But as we see it in the Netherlands, we have in 1.5 years, we collect 85% of the cans. 85%. So the bottles were before, and then it's easier to get over the cans. But if you get used to it, if it is a normal behavior, but it's not in one time, it's not an overnight, but people get used to it. We see it in the Netherlands too. Yeah. And there was a lot of protest against it.
Oh, yes, I think consumers always can be a bit resistant to new things, and then eventually become second nature, hopefully.
That's true.
I also wanted to find out, we talked about the challenges and opportunities, but would you say there are differences depending on waste stream, like for household packaging versus for commercial and industrial packaging?
Yeah, in the Netherlands, what we see for household packaging, but I think it's the same in France, that's highly dependent on consumer behavior, but also municipal collecting systems. And in the Netherlands, it's not harmonized. So you need a lot of communication and a lot of compensation of local authorities. And on the other hand, commercial and industrial packaging is more homogeneous and professionally managed, and that is more efficient. So there are different manners to recycle and reduce also both systems, I think. And of course, in the Netherlands, we have the deposit return system. And there you see that, well, we do not reach the 90% already. So we have our inspection on our back. But it is a good system to reach, in the end, the higher collection.
Well, in France, at the moment, there is no EPR system for commercial packaging. It will exist, later this year, and we will apply through this new scheme, which doesn't mean that nothing is happening. A lot is happening because all the commercials and the industrial already take care of their packaging, commercial industrial packaging. But then there will be an effective EP by mid 2026. And as for the challenges, in fact, we will see that plastic is, still the challenge for household packaging and also for industrial packaging. Plastic is the big challenge to get 100% recyclable packaging and to have incorporation of material, which is usually the case, for cardboard or for glass or for, let's say, small use. So plastic is the same challenge for both. And then maybe another challenge, which is the same, it's to develop reusable packaging. Because we have it for household packaging. We are developing in France an experimentation called reuse for, in the shops. But for commercial industrial packaging, there is a lot of stuff that is going on and that is possible to move from single use to reusable packaging. And that's going to be, I guess, one of the big challenges of commercial and industrial EPR in the next years.
I think in the what we see in the Netherlands for household packaging is because of it is so dependent on consumer behavior. We have the mixed waste sorting in the high dense areas, and I think we do it in the Netherlands for 10 years or something. I see some Scandinavian countries, Spain is already developing this kind of sorting systems. And I think if you want to have the quantity, maybe not the quality, but if you want to have more quantity of packaging waste, and especially plastic waste, then we need the mixed sort systems. And Jean is coming to the Netherlands to see how we do this. And I think it is, of course, in addition to separate collection. But if you want to be circular on the whole, we need it. That's for sure.
And you've obviously already talked quite a bit about cooperation between business responsibility organizations, and which is a key performance lever. And I wanted to know if you wanted to expand a bit further on why this collective action is now essential to drive the evolution of EPR systems in Europe.
Yeah, I think you said it before, circularity doesn't stop at borders. So the packaging flows, the recycled materials, and investment decisions are European by nature. So without cooperation, I think the EPR system risks inefficiency and regulatory inconsistency. So we need more collaboration and EXPRA, and also the regional cooperation as we have with the Benelux. We are trying to align the systems and we share best practices. But also, I think if we want to protect our recycling markets, as Jean said before, we need the cooperation heavily. Absolutely.
Yeah, nothing to add except that, it's just more powerful. We have to be more loud in order to promote and defend what we think is good for this combination of economy and circularity and environment. And maybe something is that, collaboration is in the DNA of EPR system and of organizations. We work with all stakeholders. We work with the companies. We work with the local authorities. We work with the operators and everything. We are used to collaboration, and collaboration is not easy. It's more difficult. I think we have the know-how in collaboration to make all this work. And then I believe collaboration for us, Esther and I, we are used to do that, to make the necessary compromise and to be more powerful, to try, to improve what we are doing, which is something for the common good and for the citizens. And I think we feel obliged to do it. We owe it to the people of Europe, to get together and try to promote something that we believe can be more efficient, can be more harmonized, can be maybe simpler, and can go towards the right direction. So we are strongly motivated, and that's why I'm so happy to join Esther in this club.
Thank you. I think what you said is true. We are really, cooperation is in our blood. But on the other hand, you need courage. You need to do a step aside or step in front and then take all the stakeholders with you. And I think that's what Jean is doing in France and I'm doing in the Netherlands. Because only cooperation, then you stick together. But I think we really want to go forward. And that's what binds us.
And on the subject of collaboration, is there any knowledge exchange or collaboration with EPR organizations that are not part of EXPRA?
Absolutely. EXPRA now represents around 73% of the European Union population, so that's quite a lot. And we are really glad that France is with us now, and also Ireland is coming, and the UK, although it's not European Union, of course, but we still feel like it. But we have a lot of collaboration with also the non-member PROs and the national authorities, the industry stakeholders, of course, in Europe, and the European institutions, because they are essential for building coherent EPR systems in Europe. But I think EXPRA provides a structure platform for frontrunners. But of course, it's also open to cooperation with all actors. But I think that the frontrunners we need, especially now, to implement the PPWR. But cooperation is in our blood also within EXPRA.
That's great to hear. And before we wrap things up, I wanted to zoom in a bit on the sort of more detailed plans. What will be the 2 or 3 priority work streams on which CITEO intends to engage with EXPRA? Are there any specific areas where CITEO's contribution will be particularly crucial?
The first will be the implementation of PPWR. And, this implementation, will, whether in terms of reporting, recyclability, labeling, there are a number of challenges which requires concerted action within, our organizations. So that would be the first priority. The second, I guess, will be the Circular Economy Act, which is announced for September 2026, which will concern also harmonization, digitalization of EPR. And again, we will need to get together. And maybe the third one, which we talked earlier about, is the securing our European recycling sectors, especially as far as plastic is concerned, because we will need to join our forces, to make this happen. So those are maybe the 3 priorities I see for the next months.
I agree with Jean, and I also like the cooperation we have in the Benelux. So, it's only the 4 EXPRA members, but I think we can work together to harmonize in a faster way than we can do with the whole of Europe. And I also like that we have different kinds of movements within EXPRA, and I think that's our biggest advantage.
Great. And I'd like to wrap up this podcast and our conversation by getting your take on what is your vision for the future of packaging sustainability in Europe over the coming years, shaped by EPR. Just a big question at the end.
Why is the world round? No, I think that expanded producer responsibility will remain the backbone of Europe's packaging circularity system. And it's not only, I think, a regulatory framework, it's a primary mechanism to finance, organize, and deliver the circular transition at scale. So it means a stronger cooperation between EPR organizations and smart regulation. We need that absolutely. That make us a sustained investment in European recycling and reuse capacity. And it also means protecting those investments by enforcing responsible practices and preventing dumping from outside the EU. So if you work together, if there are good regulations within Europe, if you have more scale of recycled European content and we can protect it, I think then we make a big step towards the circular economy.
Yes, maybe. My thought is that EPR in Europe, in terms of vision, shares one vision or one ambition, which is 100% circularity of packaging. That's the goal. And then the way we do it, I guess we will always defend the fact that it is a responsibility held by the company and the producers within a public frame. The second is that it has to be implemented in a 3R strategy: reduction, reuse, and recycling. It has to be harmonized within Europe. And then in a few years, I guess we will have stronger collaboration between the countries and EPR systems. As Esther mentioned, we started with the cooperation between the Netherlands, France, Luxembourg, and Belgium, real cooperation on some issues. And I think we will go further in order to be more efficient and again, to service the common goods of the citizens and to try to make our planet better. And we need it.
I want to compliment Jean and CITEO. It's really great that you're joining EXPRA and making it more stronger. France is a big country, and you are also a real front runner in EPR. So thank you for joining us. It makes our collaboration and our organization stronger. And as a chair, I will make sure that the real impact of the joining forces build a resilient circular economy. So together, I think we will be stronger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can count on us.
Well, that's a great note to end this podcast on. And obviously, we'll stay in touch and we'll keep reporting on any advancements and further steps in your collaboration. It's been really great to hear all about it today. Much both for being here today, and I look forward to hearing how things develop in the coming months.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Jean.
Yes, thank you very much to our audience for listening. A quick note from Packaging Europe. Our Sustainability Awards 2026 are now open for submissions, and submissions will be open until March 10th, 2026. With the Sustainability Awards, we aim to showcase the most impactful innovations and initiatives across the global packaging value chain, and the awards are open to submissions from organizations of all types and sizes. And I should also add that entry to the awards is completely free. We look forward to receiving your submissions. Thanks very much. Goodbye.